Hello and welcome to Craft of the Draft, brought to you by getdrafted.com.au, Australia's #1 selection for local footy talent. Post your profile now, get noticed, get challenged, getdrafted.com.au. And we've got another special episode today where we're joined by Sandringham and Vic Metro talent Rory Wright, who had plenty to say.
Yeah, he did. It was great to have a chat to him about his mindset entering 2025 and how big a role that played throughout a very, very good campaign indeed. Split his time between the midfield and halfback, played for Vic Metro, played for Caulfield, played for Sandringham. So we spoke to him about all of that and more.
Sandringham Dragons and Vic Metro talent Rory Wright in the studio for Craft of the Draft. Mate, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Thanks for having me on, boys.
Congratulations on the year you had. Absolutely stellar across just about every level you played at. Have you had much time to reflect on your draft campaign?
Yeah, thank you. But no, I haven't had a heap of time to reflect on it. But no, just pretty content with what I was able to do over the year. And I think most important of all, just had a heap of fun and made a heap of new mates, which is just awesome. Yeah.
Obviously on field, you look so comfortable and composed. How'd you kind of build yourself into, starting the year on with that level of confidence and ability in your own game?
Yeah, I think it was really important to sort of just reflect on last year and sort of identify what I wasn't doing so well. And I think for me, that was sort of mindset and just went away from having fun, which is what it's all about. So I think just came into this year with a new mindset and was able to just go out there and have fun with my mates each week and sort of what'll be will be, and just enjoy the process of, getting it to go out and playing some pretty cool games, like playing for Metro and in a grand final a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah.
Is that something you identified yourself off the back of last year, that mindset change, or is it something you kind of spoke to the coaches a little bit about?
Yeah, I think for me, it was partly me, and then I took it to Rob and sort of said, here, what do you think? And then he was really good with me all year, just making sure I was having fun and sort of just enjoying the whole process, because it can get pretty stressful at times. So I think, it's really important to just enjoy the whole thing and take each day as it comes.
It's obviously a long season as well for you with school commitments, champs, and then, like you said, you get all the way to the end of the grand final. Body feeling all right, a bit banged up by the end of it, I would have thought.
Yeah, no, body's starting to struggle by the end of it, but I think, I started to put in some processes and got my prep pretty good by the end of the year, that sort of had confidence that each week I could go out there and my body was going to hold up and just focus on the footy, yeah.
You're actually playing at the end of the year with a few issues, weren't you, in the ribs?
Yeah. So I had a pretty big knock against Oakley, which busted up a couple ribs. So, yeah, there was a fair bit of time that went into getting the body right in the last couple of weeks to go out there and hopefully do as well as I could for the team. But, yeah, I think throughout the year, I was pretty lucky that my body held up reasonably well. So, yeah.
When you do reflect on last year, in retrospect, you obviously talked about some of the mindset challenges that you overcome, or certainly some of the mindset lessons that you learned. Can you delve into those a little bit more, and perhaps what last year looked like now that you reflect 12 months on?
Yeah, I think last year for me, it was just putting too much pressure on myself and sort of put too many expectations on myself for what I wanted to achieve out of the year. And then when it sort of wasn't going as I'd hoped or had planned, I sort of the pressure would start to mount, and then it would just become a bit of a burden on me. So I think, reflecting on that, I just sort of saw this year as an opportunity to just go and have fun, enjoy your last year of junior footy, and really enjoy playing into and doing some pretty cool things throughout the year, like going and traveling with Metro and things like that. So I think reflecting on that year was really important and allowed me to sort of have the year I did this year and just have a heap of fun.
And you talked about the conversations you had with your Sandringham coach, Rob Harding. Were there specific things you put in place to ensure that you were able to keep a level head and not look too far ahead this year?
I wouldn't say anything specific. I think if I ever, sort of caught myself drifting off or thinking about the future, I'd just sort of remind myself to come back to, current next training session, next game, and just focus on that and focusing on enjoying that. And then maybe one other thing is I started to, really carry a notebook to meetings and things like that, which just I think's really helped me to just have a few key, clear focuses each week on having fun, and then just a couple technical things as well.
Yep. Tell us about preseason. How that sort of, do you feel like that set you up and gave you a really strong foundation for what lay ahead 2025?
Yeah, definitely. I think I started preseason really well and was able to come in and be fit and do a whole preseason, which always helps. So sort of going into those first 3 rounds was really confident in my body and fitness and things like that. And I was just able to go out there and enjoy it and focus on having fun like that, and knew that I had that like body of work behind me that was going to allow me to go out and sort of play the way I did.
Were there specific areas of your game that you were looking to progress throughout that preseason, and what did the mix or split look like between halfback and midfield?
Yeah, I think it sort of started that I was going to play halfback, and then in a trial game I went mid, and Rob sort of said, like, that went all right, let's sort of stay with it for a bit, and then ended up playing mid for most of the year except that last little stint at halfback at the end of the year. But I think for me, a lot of my pre-season work was sort of on my marking and stoppage craft as well. So yeah, I was happy that sort of came out in a few of the games I played through the year, and saw that hard work, pay off.
How'd you make sure that when you're trying to add to your game, like you said, you're marking stoppage stuff, but you're also not taking away from the stuff you're already good at? Do you have to try and strike that balance across the year?
Yeah, I think definitely that each session I sort of had focus areas on like my weapons. So I do a lot of kicking and things like that, but then there was also a lot of focus on things like marking, stoppage craft, like ground balls and things like that, just making sure that those areas that need a bit of tidying up are always getting as much attention as your weapons as well.
You're playing in the Sandringham Dragons midfield, which is renowned as probably the strongest junior program around the country for the first 3 rounds. What was that like throughout the first 3 weeks, particularly coming off a season where you had minimal exposure at the level last year?
Yeah, no, I think I sort of it was really good to have a few boys around me that had sort of had a bit more exposure. So playing alongside Bam and Sasha, who'd played a few more games than me the year before, which was awesome. And then as well, just like, it was so much fun, like going in and playing a new role, and sort of surprised myself in a way that sort of how it went. But no, it was awesome to go in there, and also was pretty lucky, had Miles and Jules tapping it down my throat pretty often. So no, it was awesome.
And Vic Metro, a step up. Like you said before, you enjoyed kind of travelling with the group. I'm sure it would have been pretty fun. But when you came to footy, how'd you kind of find the champs? Yeah,
it was definitely a step up. Like that SA game sort of came as a shock to a lot of us, and I think, especially myself, I was sort of not unprepared, but it shocked me in a way. I think my hands that day, like reflecting on it personally, like I got a first hands to a few and just fumbled a lot, which sort of just shows like the importance of being clean at that next level. So I think, after that, like put in a lot of work on being clean around stoppage and things like that, and you sort of just see how quick and how much of a step up that next level is.
Obviously, you had a bit of a break, I think, from that game to the next one. And what you worked on, what did you kind of see from the last 3 games then compared to that first?
Yeah, I think from the last 3 games compared to the first, my body was a bit fresher as well. Like I had a bit of a corky, so I had a week off in between those games. So I felt like I was able to, get out of stoppage a bit quicker and things like that, and move a bit better. So it's definitely helped. But I think also just like spending a bit more time over the ball and, just doing the fundamentals really well, like a big focus for me. And sort of those were the focuses I took into the game.
How important was the, newfound confidence you had, or certainly that week-to-week mentality that we talked about earlier, given it was probably not the start to the champs that you would have liked?
Yeah, I think it was really important, because I think by our second game, the champs was over and SA had already won. It was pretty important to just like take each game and focus on each game as a team, rather than like it would have been easy to go out there and just play for ourselves. But I think, we did a good job of just like still playing for each other and as much as we could.
I think your coach compared you to Luke Hodge, speaking to Jonty on the craft of the draft. Whether that comes down to probably your leadership down and ability to play midfield down back. Did he ever say that to you directly, or did you hear that at all?
Oh, I've heard it from a few of my mates that, give me a bit of stick about it. But it's a pretty like big honour to be compared to someone of his caliber. So it was pretty cool.
Is there someone in particular, whether it's Luke or anyone else, that you model your game on?
Yeah, I look a lot at Ed Richards and sort of how he plays in the midfield and half back, and sort of how he uses his speed and kicking, and also his work around stoppage. So I look a lot at him and sort of try and implement as many things as he does into my game.
Yep. You got to play for Caulfield Grammar through the middle of the season. Tell us about the camaraderie, but also the crowds and the atmosphere of school footy and what that's like.
Yeah, school footy's awesome. Like playing it in games like against Scotch, against Brighton, where the whole week sort of building up to that Saturday afternoon is pretty cool, and got all your mates there on the sidelines like backing you, and then you also have some of your best mates that you're playing alongside from school, which is so cool to go out and them and share the field with them. Has just been really cool. Yeah.
You played some senior footy last year for the grammarians, like the VAFA side, 16 or 17, wouldn't you have been at that point?
Yeah, I think 16 at the time, or maybe 17, I can't really remember. But yeah, I got to play a few games in the seniors of the grammarians at the end of the year, which was awesome. Like, made a heap of good mates there, and it was just like, that's sort of where that going back to having fun started, or sort of realised that was probably the best footy I played all year, and I think that was the most fun I had. So yeah, it sort of came as just like a realisation to have fun, and sort of good things will come of it.
It's a very different standard playing senior local footy to playing underage footy. What were the lessons you were able to take from that?
Yeah, I think you're definitely right. It's different. It's a lot slower but more physical. So I think, I sort of was able to learn some lessons about trying to use like my agility around those bigger, older guys, but also just the importance of just physicality, and sort of learned the lesson of if you go harder at it, you're probably less likely to get hurt. Which was huge. So yeah, it was just a really cool opportunity to play a few games there last year. When
did you learn that you were going to be playing halfback to finish the season for Sandy? What did that sort of preparation look like?
I'd done a lot of it sort of my bottom age year, and learning off guys like Harry Oliver the year before was awesome. So I sort of knew what it entailed and things like that. And before that, the Calder game going into the last 6 weeks, Rob sort of said, let's try a half at halfback and see how we go. And it was sort of the plan that I would do halfback for a half, Daltz would do halfback for a half. And then after that, sort of just worked out that it was best for the team that I went to halfback for the rest of the year, which I was happy to do, and was a good opportunity to sort of show something different. So I think my preparation stayed the same, just like focusing on my few key areas. It just, sort of shifted to how I could best help the team in a different position.
Yep, absolutely. And it probably worked out for the best that Daltz became one of the Coates League's best midfielders, and you were probably pretty similar off half back. What you talked about the preparation that you had. What were some of those key focuses going into the last month of the season that probably allowed you to play arguably the best footy that you did all year?
Yeah, I think definitely my kicking is something that I focus on heaps. So being at half back, sort of have the opportunity to set up the game and build the offense from the back half. So kicking was a big focus there, as well as my intercept marking. I wanted to show that I could do that. So there's a lot of time spent before training, marking, kicking, to be able to go and do that on the weekend. And then I think something I was working on with Rob throughout that time was just like sort of the balance between offense and defense, like sort of working on to more of like a 50-50 or 60-40 balance between offense and defense, rather than just sort of all out attack, which it was when I started playing there. So yeah, that was a big focus area as well.
How'd you find the big games for finals for Sandy Dragons? Is that something that you thrived on?
Somewhat. I think at the end of the day, they're just another game. Like, it's pretty cool, and it's good fun playing in those big games. But I think if you hype them up too much, you just end up sort of overstimulating yourself for anything. So sort of just treat it like any other game and just enjoy it. Yeah. Sounds
straight out of the Luke Hodge textbook, if you ask me. That answer, that was good. We might get into some fan questions. We'll call them fan questions, even though I think most of them are from your teammates.
Yeah.
First one, Thomas Savas says, who has the most aura? I'm assuming that's among your teammates.
It's got to be Miles Tyra.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. These ones are your teammates. So what we'll do is we'll ask you the question, and then we'll ask you who you think asked the question afterwards. So who's your favourite teammate to kick to in the forward line? Archie is your favourite, or Archie asked the question?
Archie asked the question.
No, Archie asked the question.
Ludo. Yeah. Favourite to probably would be Ludo.
Yeah.
Put it in his air and he'll usually mark it. So,
yeah.
Who's your favourite non-Sandy Metro teammate?
Have to be Kondo.
Who do you reckon asked it?
It's probably Kondo for both
answers. Yeah. No, very good. And who's your favourite Dragons teammate?
Fred Brayshaw.
Asked it or
both?
Yeah. No, very good. One I wanted to ask you as well. Rob Harding said the following. I think he's an AFL player clearly, and when teams get him in, they're going to be pretty impressed with what he's able to do straight away. When you hear those words, what does that sort of mean, and how ready do you feel like you are for the step up?
Yeah, I think it's pretty special and, sort of humbling to hear sort of someone I've really looked up to and learnt a lot off to say sort of something as nice as that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. But no, I think I've put in a lot of work to get my body ready and sort of my skills and my footy ready to be able to go next year. And whether it's, if I'm lucky enough to get picked up, whether it's VFL, AFL, just sort of go and have an impact wherever I hopefully do end up. So no, I think I've got a lot of confidence that I could just go and have an impact wherever if I'm given the opportunity, which would be pretty amazing. Yeah.
Cool. Rory, thanks for joining Craft of the Draft.
No, perfect. Thanks for having me.